The whispers started before the old man even reached the front of the hall. His steps were uneven. His shoulders stooped, and in his trembling hand, a metal swung from a frayed ribbon. The metal was dull, its surface scarred by time, and to the younger soldiers seated in neat rows, it looked like nothing more than a relic from a forgotten war. A few smirked. One even muttered under his breath, "That thing looks like it came from a flea market." The old man heard, and though his eyes glistened, he said nothing. He simply kept walking, as though the weight of that metal alone carried him forward. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The ceremony was meant to honor veterans, yet as the old man made his way toward the stage, the room shifted with unease. Some eyes rolled, others looked away. A young officer leaned toward his friend and whispered, "Why parade a rusty piece of junk when we have gleaming honors to show?" The old man paused at the stairs, gripping the railing as though steadying not just his body but his memories. He thought of friends long gone, of nights where silence was broken only by the sound of mortars, of mornings when survival felt like a betrayal to those who didn't wake. That metal, rusty as it was, carried all of them. The crowd's murmurs swelled, like a tide of judgment. And then the colonel entered. His presence silenced the room. Tall, broad-shouldered, his chest gleamed with polished decorations that reflected the light like shards of glass. He carried himself with authority, but his eyes were sharp, scanning, as though he could read the soul of every soldier in the room. The old man extended the medal toward him with both hands. A hush fell. Some chuckled softly, expecting the colonel to dismiss it. But when the colonel's eyes fell upon the inscription engraved faintly along its edge, the color drained from his face. His hand froze mid-air. The whispers stopped. The hall grew still. He leaned closer, tracing the letters with his gloved finger. The inscription bore a single phrase, one known only to those who had served in a mission so secret, so brutal, it had been wiped from official records. It was the operation that had saved hundreds of lives, among them the colonel's own father. The colonel's breath caught. In that instant, the power shifted. The man the crowd had mocked now stood taller, his years melting away in the weight of recognition. The colonel stepped back, then to the shock of every soldier present, he snapped into a full salute. Not a casual gesture, not symbolic, but sharp, precise, filled with reverence. The crowd gasped. Chairs scraped. Murmurs turned to stunned silence. And when the colonel lowered his arm, his voice broke the stillness. "This metal is not rusty, it is eternal. Without this man, I would not be standing here today. None of you would understand the price written into its scars." A ripple of shame passed through the younger soldiers. Their smirks disappeared, replaced with lowered heads and guilty silence. Some swallowed hard, others clenched their fists, realizing too late the cruelty of their laughter. The old man's eyes brimmed with tears, not of weakness, but of vindication. For years he had carried the burden of sacrifice in silence, never asking for applause, never needing recognition. Yet in that moment, the truth shone brighter than any polished metal could. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. The metal that once seemed rusty now gleamed in the light, not by polish, but by the respect it commanded. And as the colonel held the old man's hand in his, the hall erupted in applause, thunderous, unrestrained, carrying the weight of both guilt and gratitude. What began with whispers, ended with honor. What started with mockery closed with reverence. And the old man, who had once seemed so frail, walked off the stage with a dignity that time itself could not erode. So remember this: every scar has a story, every wrinkle carries history, and sometimes the treasures we dismiss are the very things that hold the world together. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us of the courage, kindness, and truth hidden in plain sight.